It's been a really long time since we last saw Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson solve mysteries on screen. The BBC Sherlock series, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, ended way back in 2017 with an intense finale titled The Final Problem. But ever since that episode aired, fans all over the world have been holding on to hope that Sherlock Season 5 or maybe even a special movie would eventually happen. Despite the fact that the main actors have gone on to become major stars in Hollywood, whispers and rumors of a comeback have continued to pop up every now and then. Still, most of these updates have been vague or left fans with more questions than answers. But now we finally have a real update, though it may not be the one fans were hoping for. Mark Gatiss, the co-creator of Sherlock and the actor who played Mycroft Holmes, gave an honest interview recently during the Italian Global Series Festival in June 2025. His words shed light on the true state of the show's future, and to be completely honest, they aren't very encouraging. When asked why there hasn't been any progress on either a new season or movie, Gatiss didn't sugarcoat his response. He said something pretty profound: "It's important to acknowledge when a time is a time. Sometimes it is there and then it stops, and there's nothing wrong with that. Going back is often very difficult." It sounds like he's gently letting the world know that maybe Sherlock had its moment and that moment might have passed. So what exactly does this mean for the future of the beloved detective series? Basically, if you were still dreaming about Season 5 being announced or a Sherlock movie being quietly developed behind the scenes, it's time to lower those expectations. Gatiss's words suggest that while it was a great show with great memories, bringing it back would be extremely hard. Not just creatively but also logistically. A big part of the issue is the stars themselves. Gatiss admitted that one of the main reasons there hasn't been a continuation is simply because Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman didn't want to do any more. And honestly, it makes sense. Both actors have had massive success since their time on Sherlock. Benedict has been busy with the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Doctor Strange, along with multiple other projects. Martin Freeman has had success with shows like Breeders and The Responder. Their schedules are packed, and jumping back into the world of Sherlock just doesn't seem like a top priority anymore. That said, all hope isn't completely lost. Gatiss did admit that the idea of doing a Sherlock movie has been discussed in the past. They both like the idea of it, but it has not happened, he explained. So while the enthusiasm might be there in theory, the practicalities just aren't lining up. Coordinating everyone's schedules, aligning the story, and making sure the entire creative team is on board, it's all just too complicated to make it work right now. If you're a fan who's been holding out hope, you're not alone. For years, there's been a little spark of optimism every time someone connected to the show teased a possible comeback. Benedict Cumberbatch has said he's open to returning if the time is right. Gatiss and Stephen Moffat, the show's other co-creator, have also dropped hints over the years. But this new interview feels different. It feels more final. Like Gatiss is trying to help fans begin to move on instead of clinging to something that might never happen. This doesn't mean that the show has been officially cancelled. BBC hasn't made any announcements confirming its end. But realistically speaking, the odds of a new season or even a movie getting made are incredibly slim. If even the people who created Sherlock and brought it to life are now expressing doubts about revisiting it, then that's probably a sign. At the same time, there's something poetic about letting Sherlock stay finished. The show had a solid run of 4 seasons and gave us a version of Sherlock Holmes that was completely fresh and modern. The chemistry between Cumberbatch and Freeman, the clever writing, the intense cases, and emotional arcs, they all made the show iconic in its own way. Sometimes it's better to leave a story where it ended rather than try to recreate the magic and risk falling short. Still, fans can't help but wish for one last case, one final reunion at 221B Baker Street. Even a single movie, a standalone adventure, could be enough to satisfy that craving. But as Gatiss clearly stated, everyone liking the idea isn't enough. Making a Sherlock comeback actually happen would take serious effort, planning, and mutual commitment from all sides. What makes this news particularly bittersweet is how different it feels from earlier updates. In the past, even when nothing was officially happening, the tone was more hopeful. There was always the sense that the door was left slightly open. This time, Gatiss's words sound more like he's gently closing that door. Not slamming it shut, but just being honest that it might not open again. Fans who followed Sherlock for years now know the show was more than just another detective series. It was stylish, smart, full of heart, and it took bold risks in storytelling. That legacy can't be erased. Even if we never get more episodes or a movie, the original 4 seasons will always be something special that people can go back and enjoy. So where does that leave us now? Basically, it's safe to say that Sherlock Season 5 is not in the works. A movie is technically still a possibility, but don't expect it anytime soon. The idea is floating around, sure, but that's where it's been stuck for years. Without firm plans, full commitment from the stars, and available schedules, there's just no clear path forward. Gatiss's update is the most honest one we've gotten in a long time, and even though it might be tough to hear, it's probably what fans needed to finally understand the situation. Sherlock Holmes may always be timeless, but this particular version might have already reached the end of its story. If a miracle happens and things do line up in the future, maybe we'll get that one last adventure. But for now, we'll have to settle for the brilliant, unforgettable mysteries that have already been solved.